Major breaking news from this morning. Senator Bernie Sanders has been hospitalized for a heart procedure and is canceling his future events until further notice. Now, I want to be very delicate here. I wish Senator Sanders a quick and speedy recovery. I hope he is okay, and I hope it's not as severe. But we do have to talk about the political nature of these things. And this issue with Bernie is sparking several debates, whether or not his campaign is downplaying the severity of the issue, whether or not it was simple angina or a serious heart attack. That's what we'll talk about. But we're also hearing now people speculate Bernie, he may be winding down his campaign. This may be the end run for him due to these health concerns. I need to stress, throughout 2016 and even to today, the mental health, the physical health of candidates has been a huge point of scrutiny for every candidate. In 2016, Hillary Clinton was attacked heavily by her opponents for her apparent medical episodes. I believe it's fair to say that this is going to have a massive negative impact on the senator, and I think it's a shame, too. I think Bernie deserves to be run out of the race due to the merit of his ideas. What I mean to say is, if Bernie Sanders is run out of the race, it should be on the merit of his ideas, not because something with his heart. His ideas deserve to be heard and deserve to be challenged, and if they are good ideas, the people have a right to support him. However, as many of you know, that's not how politics works. And one big factor in a presidential candidate is going to be their health. So this is a big issue. So let's read this story from the New York Times about Bernie Sanders' heart procedure. But I want to stress, Bernie Sanders is canceling his Iowa TV ad runs, which sends signals to many people, sparking rumors it may be the end for his campaign. But let's read. They say, Senator Bernie Sanders was hospitalized and treated for an artery blockage and is canceling his events for the coming days, a campaign official said on Wednesday. Quote, during a campaign event yesterday evening, Senator Sanders experienced some chest discomfort. Jeff Weaver, a longtime advisor to Mr. Sanders, said in a statement. Following medical evaluation and testing, he was found to have a blockage in one artery and 2 stents were successfully inserted. Senator Sanders is conversing and in good spirits. He'll be resting up over the next few days. We are canceling his events and appearances until further notice, and we will continue to provide appropriate updates. Now, what's strange to me is why they would cancel TV ads in this instance, unless it was more serious than they're letting on. The main debate going on right now is whether this is the campaign downplaying what's happening. But let's read. They say, Mr. Sanders, 78, was traveling for a gun forum in Las Vegas that other candidates were also scheduled to attend. He was to travel to California later this week. He is currently recovering in a Las Vegas hospital, the campaign said. Mr. Weaver read the statement to staffers on a quickly assembled conference call at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, according to an aide on the call. No one on the staff asked questions following a statement, which the aide said Mr. Weaver read in measured tones. One campaign ad referring to Mr. Sanders told the New York Times on Wednesday morning, he feels better than ever because that's how people feel after they get a stent and there's more blood flow. Mr. Sanders has kept up a brutal schedule on the campaign trail, typically holding multiple events in several cities a day. Over the weekend, he held several events at colleges in New Hampshire. Following his trips this week to Nevada and California, he had been expected to travel to Iowa this weekend, according to a campaign ad. Now, this is where things get weird. The Sanders campaign had planned to go on air with his first television ads of the campaign this week in Iowa, announcing a 2-week, $1.3 million buy on Tuesday. An ad tracking service, Medium Buying, said on Wednesday that Mr. Sanders began canceling those ads. The reason for the cancellation was not immediately known. Even as late as Tuesday night, Fayez Shakir, Mr. Sanders' campaign manager, was talking excitedly about the ad buy on a call with supporters. It has to be, in my opinion, related to the medical episode. And I have to stress, I don't think the simple solution here is that they just decided to cancel the ads. Senator Sanders had a serious medical incident, and now they're canceling campaign ads. That leads me personally to believe this medical incident may be more severe than they're letting on. One of the arguments being presented is that, of course, the campaign needs to downplay the severity of what happened. Many people on the left are calling this a heart attack, and I'll get into the difference between angina and a heart attack. So we can talk about the medical difference, but colloquially, when someone refers to a heart attack, it does sound like this. That's not medically accurate. Bernie Sanders may be okay, but I can't understand why they would cancel a massive 2-week ad buy. If Bernie Sanders is only resting for a few days, they don't need to cancel a 2-week ad buy unless this is very, very serious. That's just my opinion, okay? I want to stress, I wish him the best and a speedy recovery. But we know how politics works. It is very, very bad in terms of a public relations sense for Bernie to come out and talk about a massive heart attack. Let's read on. They say, on the trail, Mr. Sanders' events are usually high-energy affairs, where he regales enthusiastic crowds with his calls for Medicare for all and tuition-free public college, and rails against the corporate and Washington elite. In recent weeks, he has struggled with a hoarse voice that emerged during a swing through Iowa and Colorado, and then worsened heading into the last debate in mid-September. He subsequently canceled several events last month to rest his voice, but has since returned to the campaign trail. They say in March, he hit his head on the edge of a glass shower door requiring 7 stitches. Now look, Sanders' camp is angry, and they're going to push back on all this, but this is serious, okay? There have been multiple instances where Bernie Sanders' health has been made an issue. He is 78 years old. The pro-Sanders side are saying it's not a heart attack, calm down, they're smears. But listen, Sanders has bumped his head before. His voice was very hoarse in that last debate. And now we have this medical episode. This will, regardless of what you think politically, this is a nuclear bomb dropped on the Sanders campaign. It doesn't matter if Sanders is healthy and these were anomalies. It matters that this will be weaponized by every Republican and every Democrat. The Democrats who are going up against him will use this and say, you're just too old. They're doing the same thing for Joe Biden. Joe Biden has had gaffe after gaffe. They have said that his teeth may be slipping. You know, it's strange to me why so many of our presidential candidates are so old today. And this goes for Donald Trump as well, who I believe is 72. Now, some people have pointed out that he was in his late 60s when he ran. That's why he succeeded. But he is going to be running again. Now, Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, Bernie, they're all relatively old. But we will talk about Trump's health, because as far as the multiple stories I have show, Trump is in good health, though they do say he's obese. But let's read on about Bernie Sanders before we continue. The one-time captain of his high school track team, Mr. Sanders, has tried to project an image of fitness as a candidate. He pitched in the softball game his campaign stage over the summer on Iowa's Field of Dreams. And his aides have released other images of him playing catch or shooting basketball. When he's on the road, Mr. Sanders often heads to an open gymnasium to shoot baskets. They say that Sanders has not yet released his medical records, though he has vowed to do so. During his first presidential run, he released a letter from his doctor declaring that he was in very good health. The letter stated that Mr. Sanders had suffered several ailments during his life, including gout, diverticulitis, superficial skin cancers, and laryngitis from acid reflux. The letter also said Mr. Sanders had normal readings for blood pressure, pulse, and blood count, and that he had no history of cardiovascular disease. Okay. We got some statements. I guess we will wrap it up. Not long after news of Sanders' hospitalization emerged, several of his rivals for the Democratic nomination sent good wishes his way with posts on Twitters. Bruce, Team Warren, and I are sending you the best wishes. We see Cory Booker said, glad to hear Senator Sanders is doing well. And we can see from Klobuchar, Bernie's fighting spirit will get him through this. So, of course, for now, everyone in their right mind is going to wish him the best. And that is sincerely what we should all be doing. As I stated earlier, and I could probably state it better, Bernie Sanders is a presidential candidate with a massive following. If he is forced to leave this race, it should be because the merit of his ideas are challenged, not because of heart issues. And that goes for Donald Trump, that goes for Hillary Clinton, that goes for everyone. Unfortunately, that's not how politics work. As I've stated, many people are concerned that a leader needs to be in good health to lead this country, of good mental health and good physical health. So we do have a couple of things I want to show you here. This is Medium Buying saying the Sanders campaign is canceling their ad spend in Iowa. But we have this statement here from Siraj Hashmi from the Washington Examiner, I guess. He says, according to Fayez Hashmi, a.k.a. Baba, who is a cardiothoracic surgeon, the recovery time for a coronary stent is 1 week. While this problem won't go away, Bernie Sanders will likely be back to campaigning in about 2 weeks, the longest, save for any added complications. Now, if Sanders had coronary artery bypass surgery or a heart valve replacement, which are obviously more invasive than a stent, the recovery time is 3 months. Having witnessed this particular procedure, angioplasty, the cardiologist will insert a flexible tube into an artery, usually a femoral artery in the anterior portion of your hip. Then a wire mesh stent is placed in the coronary artery. It's pretty quick. Now, I've asked some people what they think. People who would know better than I when it comes to angina versus a heart attack. And I believe we may be getting a bit esoteric for the average person because, again, colloquially, they would view this very much the same. But my understanding is it's much more likely this was simple angina, which is blockage in some capacities, limited blood flow to the heart, and the stent prevents a heart attack. A myocardial infarction, which it's actually called. Let me just show you here. This is angina, it's just chest pain. And when they put a stent in, it's to prevent a heart attack. A heart attack is actually known as a myocardial infarction. And this refers directly to tissue death. So it may just be that they are preventing a heart attack. This wasn't a heart attack, but in the end, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because press campaigns aren't going to be completely honest, because if it was tissue death, we wouldn't know. We wouldn't know what happened. And yes, of course, this campaign is going to try and downplay this. Interestingly, however, the impact to the 2020 presidential nomination is already visible. Elizabeth Warren is now the favorite on the predict it betting market with 51 cents towards yes. And Joe Biden now in a second with 25. Bernie Sanders has dropped down. Check this out. We can see that this morning, Warren has jumped up 5 cents in the betting pool, and Bernie Sanders is down 2 cents. Let's give this one a quick refresh, see if anything has changed as of the filming of this video. So I want to do in the past 24 hours between Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, and we can see that, yes, her upward trend continues. Now, Bernie's downward trend is only a little bit down from 10 cents 4 hours ago to now 7 cents. They're technically like a percentage basis. This just means that, wow, there you go. I just told you it was at 9, now it's at 7. That Andrew Yang, surprisingly, I didn't realize was in third place in the betting market. But here we can see that Bernie Sanders is now tied with Hillary Clinton in terms of who people think would get the nomination, with Elizabeth Warren set to take first place. So I'll just show you a couple more tweets. We have this statement. Crystal Ball, she's a personality reporter, co-host of The Hill. I try to be careful with how I title people. She says, Rising just spoke with a cardiologist who tells us stent insertion is a routine procedure, and they sent patients back out on the golf course the same day. Prayers for a speedy recovery. Well, I wouldn't be fair if I didn't bring up Donald Trump's health as well in this argument, and I also want to talk about Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton and how this will impact 2020. As I've shown you in the prediction markets, it seems this is bad news for Bernie's campaign. Let me read you now a bit about Trump's health, and boy, is the last sentence in this paragraph one of the funniest things I have ever read, and I just can't believe it. But hey, Trump's exuberant. So in terms of Donald Trump's health, as we're talking about 2020, they say, this is from Wikipedia, Trump abstains from alcohol, a reaction to his older brother Fred Trump's alcoholism and early death, and claims to have never smoked cigarettes or cannabis. He is known to enjoy eating fast food. He has said he prefers 3 to 4 hours of sleep per night. That's very little sleep. Wow. I get a decent amount of sleep. In December 2015, Harold Bornstein, who had been Trump's personal physician since 1980, released a letter stating that he would be the healthiest individual ever elected to the presidency. Bornstein noted that Trump had an appendectomy at age 10, but did not mention the bone spurs that Trump said caused his medical deferment from the military age at 22. A follow-up letter by Bornstein in September 2016 showed Trump's blood pressure, liver, and thyroid functions to be in normal ranges, and that he takes a statin to control cholesterol. In May 2018, Bornstein said Trump himself had dictated the contents of the December 2015 letter, and that 3 Trump representatives, including longtime bodyguard Keith Schiller, had taken away his medical records in February 2017. In January of 2018, Trump was examined by White House physician Ronnie Jackson, who said he was in excellent health and that his cardiac assessment revealed no medical issues, although his weight and cholesterol level were higher than recommended. Several outside cardiologists commented that Trump's weight, lifestyle, and LDL cholesterol level ought to have raised serious concerns about his cardiac health. In February 2019, after a new examination, White House physician Sean Conley said Trump was in very good health overall, although he was clinically obese. His 2019 coronary CT calcium scan score indicates he suffers from coronary artery disease, which is common for white males at his age. He has called golfing his, quote, primary form of exercise, although he usually does not walk the course. Here's the best part. He considers exercise a waste of energy because he believes the body is, quote, like a battery with a finite amount of energy, like a battery with a finite amount of energy, which is depleted by exercise. You can see this colored link here because I did not believe that was a real quote. Seriously? Well, according to the Washington Post, who I am no fan of, that's what they claim. So I'm not going to, I think it's a silly thing to believe if Trump really believes it, but I can't say I believe the press when it comes to this absurd notion. You know, they recently said Trump wanted a moat on across the Rio Grande or whatever, the border between the U.S. and Mexico, that he wanted a moat full of alligators. I'm sorry, I just can't believe that. You've jumped the shark. Maybe Trump did a long time ago. I can't say I'd be too surprised if it was true, but the media jumped the shark with Russiagate. So sorry, I can't take your word for it. But this is a story from 2017 titled, "Trump thinks that exercising too much uses up the body's finite energy." President Trump reportedly eschews exercise because he believes it drains the body's finite energy resources. But experts say this argument is flawed because the human body actually becomes stronger with exercise. Yes, the argument is flawed, assuming Trump even made the argument in the first place. They say, Trump's views on exercise were mentioned in a New Yorker article this month and in, quote, Trump Revealed, the Washington Post's 2016 biography of the president, which noted that Trump mostly gave up athletics after college because he believed the human body was like a battery with a finite amount of energy, which exercise only depleted. Where does that quote come from? I have no idea. They go on to just say the idea is stupid. So here's why I can't take this seriously. It's an absurd thing to say, but I will stress, I actually lean a little bit towards believing Trump would say something like that. The problem is just saying it's a quote from Trump Revealed, the Washington Post story, and not telling me whose quote it is. I think what you're really doing is trying to make it seem like Trump is quoted directly as saying that, when that's probably someone paraphrasing something that may have been an offhand comment or a joke that Trump made. As we know, people in this media sphere don't understand what jokes are, or they don't understand them when they don't want to. They take everything Trump says literally. Listen, I want to make sure I make this clear. I am not going to defend this quote or deny it. I'm just pointing out, I wish they would have said where the quote came from, because we have seen the media play this game before. When Trump said that Hillary Clinton acid washed her server, they claimed in a fact check from NBC that Hillary Clinton literally, they're like, fact check false. Hillary Clinton did not literally use a corrosive chemical on her server. So do I really believe Trump thinks this? I think that's kind of weird. Now, I will admit, I think Trump's kind of a weird guy, so maybe that's the case. But here's what I want to do. Whether or not Trump is healthy or not, I just read you the reports. We had this issue with Bernie Sanders. Let's take a look now at Joe Biden. The Washington Examiner writes, 11 years after he last released medical records, Biden's health at issue as campaign stonewalls. Democratic frontrunner Joe Biden was speaking at a televised town hall Wednesday when the corner of his left eye appeared to fill with blood, bringing attention away from the issue of climate change at a time when his campaign is already batting back scrutiny about his age and health. The eye issue likely isn't serious and will go away on its own after a few days, but it came after reporters have been asking Biden about whether his age will get in the way of his pursuit of the White House, and followed a string of verbal miscues. They go on to say that Biden is 76, but I highlight this because health has been a big factor. Going back to 2016 with Hillary Clinton, when she collapsed outside of a memorial event. In 2016, Hillary Clinton was seen being carried. There were numerous videos about Hillary Clinton being carried or brought upstairs or helped, of her spitting up things. I think health is going to play a big issue. So I want to end with this very, very important point, stressing for the millionth time. I wish Bernie Sanders the best. He's had a long and storied career. He has many, many great arguments and many bad arguments. And that should be the basis for why we challenge him. But I understand when it comes to being president, the American people want someone who's strong and capable. And that means even if your ideas are good, they're looking for someone who can stand up for them. They're looking for someone who will be able to do this job for the time required and won't end up leaving due to health issues. If Bernie Sanders is sick, we've seen him bash his head. We've seen him, his voice is hurt. We've seen him now hospitalized for heart issues. Then I think this is a serious thing that will be considered by many people. But I will end just lastly by saying this, regardless of what is or should be, regardless of whether or not it was a heart attack or angina, this was a nuclear bomb for his campaign. This is it. It's going to be weaponized across the board by everybody. The Democrats are going to politely say, Bernie, please, for your health, sit down by the fire, calm down. But Trump is going to say, Bernie is too old. And we're going to hear that from everyone who opposes Bernie. But more importantly, while the Democratic candidates may not play this game so harshly, people who don't like Bernie and do like Elizabeth Warren or Yang or Biden are absolutely going to use fire and fury and say Bernie is too old and needs to stop. And I assure you, it is already happening on Twitter. Okay, that's what we're seeing. That's what this debate is emerging. So I'll wrap it up there. Again, for the millionth time, I wish him nothing but the best. I'd like to see his ideas challenged on that stage, and this should not be the way people, drop out of a race. But that's politics, too. Stick around. Next segment will be at 6 p.m. youtube.com/TimCastNews. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you all there.